I want to acknowledge Treaty 8 territory and the Peace region. This is Nachi Nanet, the Dreamer's Land in the Peace region. A dream is something that can come from the spirit. Our ancestors were really good at it. Astral travel in a dream. They actually can visit each other and talk to each other many miles away. Dreaming is an art, and we are reclaiming it. And it leads us to connecting to the portal of the spirits. We need to take those images, those ideas, those messages that come and make it into reality. I think that's the key thing in my life journey. I've always saw things, experienced things in a dream, but upon awakening, we got to make it into reality.
I've spent the last 30 years being a professional portrait photographer, but in the last 15 years, I started my own spiritual journey that has led me to many new mentors, many new teachers, and a whole lot of interesting experiences learning to understand myself from the inside out. I'm a meditation teacher, and I have a deep spiritual practice, and I'm also a dreamer. As a Native person, dreams are very, very sacred to us. They are messengers and they're often premonitions. I personally dream 2 to 3 times a night, and I can't tell you how often those dreams have impacted my life. Dreams are information, and the spirit world sends us our information that we need to guide us on our journey. Imagine our world living in peace. John Lennon recently visited me in a dream. He tapped me on the shoulder, he put his face right in front of my face, and I could see his glasses, I could see him staring at me, and he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Hi, I'm John Lennon." And I flipped over the sheets in my bed and I said, "And I'm sleeping." And I gave him the hand, stop, go away, and I went back to sleep. But then in the morning, upon awakening, I was like, oh my God, that was John Lennon. John Lennon came to me and I jumped out of bed, I ran to the computer and I Googled, who is John Lennon? The first thing that popped up was John Lennon wearing a jacket that had a patch, a badge, a patch on it that said, "People for Peace." And I instantly knew. I had this sensation come over my body, just tingling. It's almost like a shock, an electric volt, that I knew that it was my turn to take that message, do something with it, and pass it back to you. So after sitting and meditating with this whole John Lennon dream and bit, I asked myself, like, what am I supposed to do with this? What am I going to do? And as a person who's been studying myself and looking at my own inward shadows and such over the last 15 years on my spiritual awakening, I realized I had enough knowledge and enough information now that I can help you find that inner spirit within you, because it's my belief that peace starts with each and every one of us. Peace happens to us on the inside. It's inherent. We're all born with it. We have to discover it, we have to activate it, and we have to work with it in order to share it outwards with others. And as a Native person and an Indigenous person, I also got the message in meditation that it is the first people who are able to help share this message, because when we connect with things like nature and spirit, our inner spirit, then we can find the goodness in ourselves. We can find that best part of ourselves. We can find love, which then turns to peace.
The real thing is about surrendering. You got to just surrender and allow that spirit to come through. Make no judgment, have no biases towards those things. As they come, you just let it go and surrender. That's it. And once you let it go, then magic happens.
One of the biggest crises I've had being an Indigenous woman is an identity crisis. Am I Native or am I non-Native? I have 2 Native grandmothers, one full Cree and one Métis, and 2 non-Indigenous grandfathers, one Irish and one Polish. So growing up, it had me really confused. Am I white or am I Native? Am I white? Am I Native? And depending on which house I was in, really stirred the pot even more, because when I was at the native grandparents' house, I could see the bannock, I could taste the bannock, I could hear the Cree language. And then in my non-Indigenous family, of course, there was none of that. But strangely, over my years growing up, I'd look in the mirror and I was very brown, I had black hair, and I'd go to school and pretend to be non-Indigenous to fit in with the kids at school. But those kids did see me as Native and even called me Native in a various bunch of ways. So I knew that I wasn't white, but then the Native people tend to see me as white, and the non-Native people tend to see me as Native. So it's something I've struggled with my entire life. But now that I'm older, and now that I've done a lot of the internal work and found myself essentially, what I've learned is I am both. I am non-Indigenous and I am Indigenous. I get to walk in two worlds. So the benefits of being a Métis person is, now that I recognize I get both benefits, I get to help people, including myself, but I get to help people understand each other. So I can show the non-Indigenous people Native ways, and I can show Native people the non-Indigenous ways, and help build a form of trust and alliance and understanding of each other. So I feel like I was partly called to help people understand both of these realities and bring them together.
So treaty has always been about coexistence, to live together with all people. That's peace.
I have always sought out mentors on my journey. I believe that we need a number of different teachers and a number of different mentors to help us walk on our path. Through my journey, different people, different teachers have brought different aspects or reflected different aspects of me back to me, and then I'm inspired by them. So my advice to you is find different mentors. You should always have at least one mentor, and different teachers to help you discover more about yourself.
When we walk alone, we have a teacher within us. When we walk with others, we have many teachers.
Mentors have always been key to my personal and professional growth. Dawn, Evelyn, and Gary continually inspire me. They show me that every leader has challenges, but what is different about them is that they face their obstacles and use healing practices to recenter themselves, and they share their wisdom openly.
My name is Don Pettit. I'm a photographer, a videographer, writer, publisher, a teacher, and right now primarily a renewable energy consultant. And I really enjoy talking to people about the benefits and the good news about how we can clean up the planet and still have abundant, inexpensive electricity. Our environmental and inner peace sort of interact, well, through experience. I need to be in nature to experience that sense of peace and connection with the real world, which I consider to be the natural world. And now we're into a global situation that's of great concern. And it's all about, preserving nature. So, okay. So now we're preserving what we need for peace of mind and connection with what's really going on the planet, which is the natural world. Without that, we're nothing. We do not exist. We're gone. We're beginning to realize that nature isn't just, a nice thing. It's a critical thing. It's life and death thing. We absolutely need to reconnect with it. And that is the challenge of our era. How do we reconnect with something that we've looked at for the last few hundred years as nothing but a resource to be used and destroyed as needed? Boy, that's a pretty big shift, but it's one we're going to have to make. There's lots of work to do for everybody in that regard. Holding a camera and being pretty knowledgeable about photography and landscape and nature, I guess it connects me somehow. I see things when I'm photographing that I wouldn't normally see if I'm just out for a bit of a walk or something, right? I see relationships, I see light, I see shadow, I see movement. And without the camera and without being in nature, that just isn't happening. That sounds a little vague, but it's difficult to describe the experience, but I rely on it. Nature is going to continue to be the rock that I stand on, but beyond that, I think it's people and inner peace, and searching for that is more what I'm doing now than anything else. Well, there's a lot of things that everyday people can do to connect to nature and sort of take a larger role in what we have to do now as a species on this planet. I think just exposure to nature is a really good idea. Just get out and experience nature as much as you can. I think that if you don't know it and you don't love it, why are you going to bother protecting it? But the main thing you have to do for yourself, I think, is just spend more time in nature and appreciate what you're experiencing, feeling with all of your senses. Just go back anywhere. It could be back in the corner of a neighborhood park and just sit there. But listen, right? Hear with your ears what are the sounds around you, and then look and see carefully. Look at the light that's falling around you. Just with all of your senses, just go through each sense and realize what's happening, and just realize that this is a unique experience. It's one of the best things I do, and I think it works for everybody, to just feel better about what's going on and to build that connection with the world, with the natural world around you.
I am Evelyn Coutre from Dawson Creek, BC, born and raised, and my family is from Driftpile Cree Nation, my mother's side, and my father's side is from Fost area, and they moved to Chetwynd when they were younger and brought up all of the kids there, and our family, that's where they reside from. I was able to learn to dance. I was able to learn to sew. I was able to learn to go to ceremony, go to lodges, go to, all these places and learn from our elders, and not just one or two, I've learned from many. And that in itself is so rewarding, for myself, that I can share with our young ones that are growing up, give them that love. To culture, to me, is so important because, our people have suffered enough. Now, a lot of our people are reclaiming what is important. Because if we don't reclaim it for ourselves, how are we going to claim it for our children? I do teach dance, show them, get out there. But I also show them how to make outfits so they can learn that love. They can build up their spirit, dress up them. Show their pride, show their, their happiness, their love. It's not about, showing off. It's about, dressing them up, showing them to be proud of who they are. Because that's what culture is to me, loving yourself. Because, if we don't love ourselves and learn to love ourselves, then it's harder to do things. And, culture does that. It teaches you love, going to ceremony. You're accepted. You're accepted into the powwow circle. You're accepted into all the stuff because, being who you are and being proud of that. A lot of hardships were just myself. A lot of things, you have to admit for yourself when you're wrong, how to work through it, how to understand it, being honest with yourself, understanding that, sometimes we go through a lot in our own minds. Our minds are our biggest enemies sometimes, our thoughts. And, what we think people think, so how can we work through that? First off, don't put yourself down. Don't say something bad about yourself. Try to really work on that part of yourself, because that's where the inner peace with yourself. You have to accept who you are and love who you are, every part of you.
When we do the inner work on ourselves, each one of us just does a little tiny bit of inner work. We all shift gently and collectively. That is collective consciousness. So what is collective consciousness? It's when the group of people are at a certain level or frequency of belief or feeling. So something like love is a very high vibration, and acceptance is another very high vibration. So we're all here as parts of a puzzle. I often get this sort of vision that we're a puzzle being clicked together. We're all meant to be very different in a colorful jigsaw puzzle, and each person makes an important part of the picture of life. So as you do your work and I do my work, then we create a better outcome. We create a better community, and that is collective consciousness.
I'm Gary Oker, and I'm now getting to be an elder, and then look back in time and seeing all the journey that I've been on. I feel pretty content in my life that I've actually accomplished many things and helped people discover themselves, being a teacher for young people to discover their own roots, and also along the way it's just helping me. So today I'm in politics of reclaiming our land from the government. I'm doing great promotion work for the nation and other companies. Do painting and storytelling, music, performance, all kinds of fun stuff. So the stories of my painting, sometimes these pieces, that's what makes up the story. So you got the creation story of the Beaver Woman, the dreamland, maps and dreams, the change of landscape, the animals, changing weather, and you got the swan, and then looking for sacred places. So every time I paint, I try to create something, and then when I put it together, it links to a part of a story. Part of my story of that, which is really a story of the cosmology of the beaver tribe. So that's the circle, dancing around the circle, and you got the fire inside, and then you got your trails. And it tells the story of the ancient times when animals were here, people were at war, and then it turned into the peacemakers, which are the dreamers. They're the peacemakers. When you hold a drum, you're a peacemaker, because you were talking about spirits, and that's history has been going on since the time of the giant animal days. There's old people talking the story and symbols of our connection to our ancestors. I didn't know I was an artist for a long time. I just did things, and I was on a long discovery of how could I express that idea from a dream into something. It is music, is it painting, is it color? I have to go through my context and given what I could do. I think about what Grandma used to say to me. She said, if you make something, just make it. You got your hands, just do something with it. That is the key to creation. One of the things about finding peace within is that you never know what you're going to find. And that's the adventure, that's the goal. So sometimes when I go inside, I remember the voices of our ancestors. So this is my grandpa's song. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Ah, yeah, yeah. Ah, da, yeah, yeah. Ah, la, yeah, yeah.
We are creating a new collective consciousness together, thanks to a dream.